What happens when you go from career driven, independent, and totally not planning on motherhood to becoming a mom of five? Today, we're talking about the identity freefall that can come with becoming a mom, especially when it wasn't part of the original plan. Amber Gilormo joins me to share her story of unexpected motherhood, postpartum anxiety, walking away from a dream job, and the wake up call that forced her to finally start putting herself first. If you've ever wondered how to reconnect with the person you were before kids, or how to even start figuring out who you are now, you'll want to stick around. My name is Chrissy Bold. I am a stay-at-home mom to two little boys, and this is Mom's Guide to Finding Herself. You know, so many of us spent years building a life, whether it was our career, our independence, or just the rhythm of doing what we wanted when we wanted. And then motherhood happened, and it changed everything, not just our schedules, but who we are at our core. Today's guest, Amber Gilormo, knows that shift better than most. She's an attorney, the founder of The Boutique Lawyer, and a mom of five. Today, she helps online business owners protect their peace and profits with legal solutions that actually make sense. But behind the scenes, she's also someone who never thought she'd have kids. And now here she is, raising five of them, running a business, and navigating the messy middle of motherhood and identity. We get into how she went from career-driven and child-free by choice to completely rerouting her life, what postpartum anxiety looked like for her, and the moment her body forced her to finally slow down and start taking care of herself again. It's a reminder that no matter how far you feel from the person you used to be, you can still find your way back, maybe even to someone stronger. Let's get into it. Amber, thank you so much for being here with me today.
I'm so excited for this. Love to chat about all things motherhood. So I feel like this is going to be a fun one.
Perfect. And we're going to talk today about probably something you know best of all, which is your own motherhood journey and where you've come from. So please tell us, who were you before you became a mom?
Um, So, well, thanks for that question because, I feel so often that moms are just moms. Like, we just have this new persona. So, whenever somebody is like, who are you? What do you do? I don't know. That's a question I personally struggle with. But before kids, it was easy to answer that, right? So
Right. Right.
I was like a career woman. I had hobbies. So I was working at a kind of a nationally recognized. They were huge in the Southeast, which I'm spent a lot of my life in Georgia, but a big personal injury law firm. I had my dream job. I was like a workaholic, which I
Yeah.
won't say I'm not one now, but
Sure.
I was doing that. And then I got to do all the fun things shopping, movies, nails, like all the fun stuff. But, that was kind of like my girl boss journey prior to being a mom. I was really living that life and I loved it. I mean, you really start to identify with something. It like becomes you.
Yeah.
And I loved going to get like cocktails with my friends and like all that fun stuff. But now I don't even drink. So there's that.
Right.
Yeah, I was just kind of like one of those very single-minded,
Yeah.
kind of hustle people. I was constantly working,
Yeah.
constantly trying to, kind of about the grind.
Yeah.
And I just always found time to do things that I had interest in, all the
Yeah.
girly stuff. So I was definitely a girly girl, and now I'm like covered in vomit from the waist down.
Relatable. I mean, not for me anymore, but I remember when I felt like I smelled constantly just like vomit. There was no other way to put it. Now, did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
Absolutely not. So,
Yeah.
when I was in college, I was one of those girls who was like, "I'm not having kids, not having kids."
Yeah.
When I grew
Yeah.
up with my mom, I was a single child up until, how old was I? 17? And then
Oh,
she had
wow.
another and anyways, we were very far apart, but as an older kid, I'm mom number 2, right? So I'm, like,
Yeah.
taking care of him all
Mhm.
the time, helping just do things that, you don't normally do when you're still a kid, like change diapers, watch him, and, like, take him to the mall, and I was just like a kind of an angsty teenager, and I didn't wanna be mom number 2, but that was my job, and so as I became, like, my 20s, and I just absolutely was like, I'm never having kids, like, absolutely not, and then, I found my husband, and someone just it really honestly, it just came out of nowhere, like, this urge
Yeah.
kids. It's so weird how that happens, but it really did
Yeah.
for me at least. I just like one day I was like, "You know what? I think I wanna have kids." And that's kinda weird, but that's what happened.
You and I have very similar stories, Amber. I feel like where I also was like, I don't want children. Like that was the thing. And then, yeah, I met my husband and it just felt right. Like we both agreed that this was something we would want to try. Now, you took a pretty drastic shift from the I'm not having children because now you're on number 5.
Yeah.
It just
Funniest
felt
thing
good,
happened the
huh?
other day. Yeah, the funniest thing happened the other day. It was like, was this yesterday? Oh, yeah, we took the kids to Mexican food because we got stuck in horrible traffic, and I
Mm,
burnt dinner. I had it in the crock pot, and we, like, got stuck on a wreck and in a wreck,
yeah,
but not
yeah.
our vehicle wasn't in a wreck, my goodness. We were stuck on the highway in traffic due to a wreck, and I was like, "Oh, that's definitely burnt in the crock pot." It was,
Right.
like chuck roast, overcooked, becomes, like, so dry, inedible. Anyway, so we stopped and we got Mexican food, and as we were walking into the restaurant, we were, like, unloading all the kids, and, this older guy was like, "Well, y'all have half a football team." I was like, "Yeah, we really do." So we have 5 kids, and they're 8 all the way to 4 months. So they're still kinda young. We started later in life, which is a whole separate conversation, or maybe part of this conversation, I don't know. But yeah, yeah, we have quite a few.
That's yeah, I wanna hear when you decided to start having kids, especially through your career journey. Now, when in your path, how long were you working at this law firm before you said, "Let's get started"?
Um, so let's see. I had been at that law firm. I mean, so I was a lawyer, and then my husband, we dated for like 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
And then I finally landed this job that I absolutely loved because
Mm,
lawyering is just like any other job. If you're working for somebody else, like at a firm, some firms are great, some are not. And this firm was great. I really loved it. I loved the people. It just had wonderful opportunities, great revenue opportunities, all of those things. So, um, we had been married like I don't even remember. Well, we let me sorry, I was trying to my memory is like, mom brain 100% right now,
get
like,
it,
no
I get it,
sleep? So I'm
I
like,
get it.
"Man, what year was that?" No, I don't
Yeah,
really remember all the years and the details, but I finally landed this job, and, like, things just felt very secure and stable, and
yeah,
honestly, in retrospect, I think that shift is probably what, like, allowed me to want to be a mom, was, like, the feeling of safety in my life? Everything had always felt, like, totally out of whack before then. But,
yeah,
yeah, and so anyways, I had been in that firm a couple of years, and we finally got married, and we were like, "We wanna have kids," like, because I had already started to want to have kids, and I decided I wanted to plan this giant wedding, and so it just took, like, a year to plan, and then, we started trying. I actually had, like, a couple of miscarriages, which I don't know if we should talk about that or not, sorry.
yeah,
But I had a
sure.
couple of miscarriages, and then I got pregnant with my son, my oldest, and I remember just it's such a great feeling, like, once you get past the first, like, 3 months and you kind of feel safe, especially after, like, miscarriages, you
Yeah,
finally feel like, "Okay, this is something that's gonna be amazing for me," and you're still a little nervous,
yeah,
as of what you've been through, but, yeah, that was just probably the safety, I think, is the number one thing that made
yeah.
me, like, want to have a family at that point.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, I'm so glad you were able to, in your pregnancy journey, start to get excited. I know that after my miscarriages with my first, I never got to like feeling real. It always was protected. It always felt like something that I couldn't quite acknowledge. And so I'm glad that you were able to have that like this is really happening. I'm so excited moment because that's just incredible. Now, let's talk about what happened when that baby actually came into the world because we know that you can feel all kinds of safe and secure and prepared and then life flips over when that human's here.
Yeah, it totally does, doesn't it? And I will say, like, I was working at that law firm, and I think I got to 8 months pregnant, and I started having, like, really bad anxiety, and now I know my mom was never a mom to, like, talk me through these things. She had me when she was very young, and so I'm out here just, like, trying to figure out motherhood on my own, and when you're pregnant, especially, how, like, the opportunity to have, what is it, anxiety before the baby comes, and
Yeah.
that's probably what was happening. I never really went and talked to anyone about it, but
Sure.
I was so kind of hyper focused on wanting to be there for my son. Like when he was born, I didn't want to have to go back to work. I didn't want to have to put him in daycare right away. So I was thankfully had the ability to be like, "Okay, I'm gonna take time off of working," and I had to quit my job in order to do that because this was pre-COVID, before, like, people got to work from home, right? So then, that was wonderful. I was able to have him, which absolutely it was the best decision I could have made because when I had him, I had the absolute worst, like, postpartum anxiety. I remember, like, having him in the hospital and they just took him down to the, like, the nursery, and I don't remember why. Oh, to meet with a pediatrician.
Okay.
They took him to the nursery to meet with a pediatrician, and I had a full body shakes. Like, I was like
Wow.
I had to go out in the hallway and watch him, like, it was so crazy, and I remember, like, the learning curve with your first, is so, like, intense. It's so much to figure out, and we're just not, like, really supported as women, like, in general these days with
Right.
we have so much pressure, like, to do all the things and to get back to it, and still a lot of, like, the knowledge that surrounds postpartum, like, having this baby is still not, like, easily accessible for a lot of people. It's not, like, front and center, you don't ever come across it, you don't even know what it is, what's happening to you. So that was, like, really, really challenging, just like the whiplash of having a kid in your life. I'm sure you've been there too.
Haven't we all? That's why this podcast exists. My goodness. Yeah. We do so much to prepare for the actual birth that we're like, now we have this human. And we're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Where's my life gone? Where's everything been? And not only did you have this new baby and this new role of trying to figure it out, but you also quit your job.
Yeah.
So that must have been so much to go through.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot. I am lucky, like, that my husband, he was, like, gainfully employed, so I didn't have that, like, pressure on me,
Sure.
um, and I had some savings, like, that we used to take the time off, but then after the savings was gone, I was like, "Oh, what are we gonna do here?" So,
Yeah.
that's when I was like, "I probably need to figure something out," and I was able to start my law firm. I think he was, like, 6 months old when I started my
What?
firm. Um, I think that's right. Yeah, because I started in August, I believe, of 2017, and, yeah, I think he was 6 months old, something like that.
Wow.
That might have been 8, I'm sorry, bad at math. I'm a
That's
little
okay. It's less than a year, and that's impressive either way. It doesn't matter.
but that was a really, like, cool time, like a roller coaster. When we try to, like, get back to things, like, people just expect you to go back to things. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I have a friend online, and I have had the opportunity to meet her once in person, but she lives in Canada, and what was really cool is, like, she just, like, ghosted, like, for a year after her baby, and
Yeah.
just 'cause, like, that's a normal, like, in
Yeah.
some countries to do this,
Yeah.
like, to have that time to bond, like, no pressure to work, and, like, that's I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do with that, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
it's not in our culture here. But that's, like, really amazing, and I wish that was more of what we could do, but that's not, like, reality for most, like, people
Right.
here.
Right. Right. And you went big. You didn't just go back to work. You started your own practice. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. Yeah, sometimes we're like, I can't remember. So that was, again, still pre-COVID, like, when people
Yep.
were still working in law firms, like, in my field, like, you're expected to go to the office, right? Like, it's a
Yeah.
9 to 5, sometimes 8 to 7 in
Yeah.
lawyering, and so I was like, "No, I absolutely cannot do that yet," and we essentially, like, decided that I would work from home at first because just like with any business, like, just 'cause I'm starting a law firm doesn't mean I have, like, a shingle over my head. Um, I was working from my bedroom, my master bedroom, and it was just me trying to, like, handle a few client matters, some referrals, just like any other business. I feel like you make the biggest strides in it when you have like, when you really try to network and you're able to go out and chat with people, so that was a lot of fun, but, like, if I could have done it differently, I probably would not have started a law firm right away.
Yeah.
I wish I had not, but now I
Yeah.
have, and I'm happy I did. It's
Right.
just, like, it was so much pressure I put on myself to, like,
Yeah.
make it work because I hired a paralegal, and then you have to
Yep.
pay them, and you have to pay yourself, and you're like, "Oh gosh, I have to sign these cases to make sure that I'm, like, paying my, employees and all that fun stuff." So that was a lot of added pressure that I probably didn't need.
It is a lot of pressure, yeah, especially having other people depending on you. We have a lot of pressure just as moms with these beings depending on us, but then to have other people's livelihoods depending on your work on top of that is a lot of pressure. Now, how did you adjust your work, your life, your everything with each subsequent kid? Now, you already said that the learning curve was the greatest with the first. Let's talk about how it kept going.
So the second was actually a lot easier. I did not have, like, postpartum depression, I did not have postpartum anxiety, so I must have been, like, in at least a decent state, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that didn't happen, which was wonderful. I probably would not have had the 3rd, 4th, and 5th if I had had that same, like, crash.
Right.
And, yeah, and also, like, the funny thing about kids, right? If they're good sleepers, it's so much easier. If they are, like,
I bet.
cat nappers, like, up every hour at night sleepers, it's, like, so much harder to,
Yeah.
like, regulate your emotions, to not, explode at people because 'cause you're, like, crashing out
Yeah.
because you have no sleep and, like, no food, haven't showered in a week, like, all of that. Anyways, that was my first. He was a
Yeah.
bad sleeper,
Oh,
but you know what's sorry, I'm off on a tangent here, but what's funny is, like, I didn't realize, like, how big of a deal, like, milk protein allergies are. So my son, every single one of my kids I breastfed all of them since till
okay.
they were, like, 11-ish months, and then I'm like, "Y'all get on some regular milk." But, uh, that was a whole separate journey, right? But I realized when he was, like, 6 months old that there was that what was happening wasn't normal. Like, all my friends like, "My kids are sleeping like 5, 6 hours a night, some are sleeping through the night." And I'm like, "Mine is, like, still up every hour screaming." And that's because, like, he was sensitive to dairy, right? So I cut
Wow.
dairy out of my diet, and it, like, was night and day with his sleep after that.
Wow.
Go figure. And so
Yeah.
I knew that with my second and all of the subsequent ones, so it's been a much easier, like, recovery, sleep journey, and I don't know that dairy is the root cause of that, but I think it's probably a big part because, like, acid reflux keeps them up, right?
Yeah.
Um, so anyways, figuring out, like, just some of those basic pieces really
Yeah.
helped. And if I could say something that, like, would help any new mom try to figure this out is, like, you absolutely need to find, like, a doctor, whether it's, like, whatever kind of integrative or traditional medicine you're into, like, find somebody who you, like, believe is really advocating and listening to you. I think that's so incredibly important because in retrospect, I did not have that with my first, but I was able to find those people for my other, kids, and that really helped, like, having just, like, a trusted person to ask question to because, unfortunately, like, not every physician is gonna be the right fit for you,
Right.
and for your family's goals and believe, like, what you are saying,
Mhm.
and so that, like, kind of advocacy is really important.
Yeah, having somebody that takes you seriously.
Yeah, and, like, can
Yeah.
listen and just be like, "Oh, try this medicine," which I
Mhm.
had him on this, like, acid reflux medicine, and then 2 years later, there's a class action because that
Ah!
medicine causes cancer, right? So, that was fun, but
Yeah.
anyway, so it just got really a lot easier after I, like, kind of learned from all those, like, hundreds of mistakes. I remember with my first, I would take him to the doctor for, like, a runny nose, for every little thing that went wrong. He was at the doctor because I'm like, "What do I do with this kid?" And they're like, "Give him
Mm.
Tylenol and he'll be fine." So
Yeah.
and then you kind of get over that, like, worrisome, I think, with your second and your third, and, granted, a lot of people don't have a second these days, and sometimes
Right.
they just
Yeah.
stop at 2.
Yeah.
We are, I think, kind of a big family, just we kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
Um, I think everybody loves their kids. We love our kids. I like the My husband really likes the chaos of children. You know how that, like, can turn people off from having kids because it's just
Yes.
so chaotic, like, your house is never clean, the dishes are never done, the laundry's always stacked up, like,
Yep.
it's just a lot, and he, like, kinda thrives on that, which I don't, but because he's happy, it, like,
Yep.
kinda makes me happy, so I can
Yeah.
deal with it. I don't know. I don't think
I can totally see that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Now, tell me, how do you fit you into all of this? I mean, do you get enough satisfaction out of the work that you're doing, or are you making time for yourself in other ways, or are you just trying to soak it in and reveling in the joy of just the chaos?
No, I wish. I'm not a chaos person. In fact, like, I don't wanna be disingenuous with this. So I think I had in November of last year, I had a stroke. I had
Oh
a
my
stroke
gosh.
because I was like not taking care of myself. I was not paying attention to like my body. I never, and if I had been, I would have realized I was pregnant. So was that last year? Yeah. Yeah, it was. Is that right? Yes, it is. I'm sorry. I'm so off on my dates.
Okay.
I didn't realize I was pregnant. Part of my memory is because of the stroke, but
Sure.
I when I get pregnant, I have to go on blood thinners. I have a, like, a blood clotting disorder, so
Mhm.
fun times. A lot of women apparently have this. It's, like, super common, and it's one of the big reasons people's, miscarriage patterns go, like, undiagnosed is if they have this, like, clotting factor. I digress, but I had a stroke, and that is because I was not taking care of myself. So,
Mm.
I think after that experience, it became really, really, really important to me to make time for myself again. Like pre-kids, again, I was always like taking a break. I was like a little treat person. Like I would go make time to read books and like, go to yoga class. I cannot tell you the last time I stepped into a gym. I told my husband, like, because the baby's still young. He's like 4 months. I was like, this is like, me time, like, I have to carve out like, so we hired a nanny recently to, like, help buy back my time instead because I still have 2 I have, like, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then who are so these kids are not in school, right? These kids are still
Sure.
home, and the nanny's helping take care of them, which has been wonderful and such a huge,
Yeah.
like, break for me. We hired a house cleaners, like those kinds of things. Again, total like privilege to be able to do that, but I work really hard for it as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but buying back my time like that has really helped me
Mhm.
try to shift my focus recently back to myself because
Mm.
mom's like, we do for everybody. Like you have to. They rely on you. Like they're like that's your responsibility. And it's so easy to ignore our needs.
Yeah.
Like, we always come last, like, that kinda stuff, and it's so destructive, and if you're listening to this, please do not let yourself have a destructive moment like I did. I just wasn't listening to my body, didn't go to the doctor, didn't even think I could be pregnant, which was why I got a blood clot and had a stroke, was because I
Yeah.
wasn't on blood thinners, so I didn't go to the doctors, I didn't realize I was pregnant.
Mhm. Mhm.
Those are the things, like, we cannot skip our doctor's appointments, like, we need to be able to, like, take time to realize, "Oh, maybe I am, like, getting sick, let me make myself some tea and rest," and, like, just those are just, like, necessities, but, like, beyond that, we need hobbies, we need, like, interests, we need to be a whole person, and that is my goal for, like, the rest of this year and 2026 and on, like, we're working on it. I would say we as in me, I am working on it. I'm trying very hard,
Yeah.
and that's probably the biggest struggle, I would say, with motherhood in general, is, like, finding time for yourself.
Isn't that the truth? Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sorry you had to have your body tell you in such a dramatic way that you needed to make a change, but I'm so glad you've been able to accept the help because it's not just about being able to access it, it's also being able to accept it and have a partner who also accepts it that you can both do that and to make room for for you. And I'm so excited to hear about the things that you do in that space and with that time to help you continue to heal and to find out who you are outside of your work and everything else that you have going on. Do you have any final gems that you'd like to share with the moms out there who are also still working and find themselves?
If you're a mom that's still working and trying to do all the things, I call myself like the anti-super mom. I am one of those moms who does not love the word super mom, doesn't love the title. Even people say it all the time. Like if you're working and doing all the things, sometimes even if you're just like you're not working, but you are a mom, you are like doing all the things for all the class activities, doing all these other things that involve your kids, and people call you a super mom. It's okay to not like that word. I personally am anti-supermom. It makes me feel like they don't value the effort that goes into all the things that make that happen. And what I would say is be your own best advocate. And I don't say that like lightly. It's just something that you really have to think about actively. Like it takes
Mhm.
effort to be like good for yourself too. Like 'cause it's easy for us to focus on other people and do for others, but to do for ourselves is so challenging that we really should think of it like in the mind frame of like I'm going to advocate for myself. I'm going to stand up for myself and, not like to be harsh about it, but just to be, good to yourself too.
I love that advice because it's not passive. It's not something that comes easy. You have to make yourself do it, but
Mhm.
it's important. Amber, tell us where we can connect with you and learn more from you and about you.
Well, I am active on social media on one platform, Instagram, at the boutique lawyer. I love sharing tips and just, kind of funny videos about the things you should watch out for, things to do. And then, of course, at my website, theboutiquelawyer.com, we have all different kinds of resources for small and online business owners to get started and scale.
Amber, thank you so much for coming today to share your experience. I hope that you'll come back next week to share with us more about your expertise so we can start to find those things that bring us some joy.
For sure. I'd love to.
If you can relate to any part of Amber's story, go ahead and let me know. You can send me a DM over on Instagram at Mom Identity Project or leave it in the comments or reviews here or wherever you're listening to your podcast. While you're there, make sure you leave a 5-star rating and go ahead and share this with a friend who probably needs the reminder that they need to slow down and prioritize themselves too. Now, don't go anywhere because in the next episode, Amber is back, but this time we're talking about what happens when that little hobby or creative outlet starts turning into something more. Maybe it's a side hustle, maybe it's a big business, and maybe you're wondering, what do I actually need to do to protect myself? We'll dig into the legal must-dos, the common mistakes moms make when starting something new, and how to take those first steps without getting overwhelmed. So if you've got an idea that's been sitting in your notes app or in your heart, don't miss this episode. Until then, take a moment for yourself and remember you are an amazing mom just the way you are.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.